Welcome and good afternoon. Thank you for attending our webinar on CPD. We will begin in just 1 minute. I'm just going to wait to see if we have any last-minute joiners. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our latest webinar on CPD. My name is Sam, and I am the Senior Member Journey Advisor here at the CQI. And I'm joined by my colleague, Yasmin.
Hi everyone, I'm Yasmin. I'm also a Member Journey Advisor at the CQI.
So the Member Journey team are your first port of call for any membership-related queries, that you have. So whether that be about logging in or accessing your members area, or about a regrade application, we're here to help. So today we will be covering what is CPD, the purpose and why you ask you to do it, requirements of the CQI's approach to CPD, and the process, so where you can find online CPD and how to complete it. We'll also be going through a few guidance and tips as well, and then we'll close with a Q&A section, which my colleague Yasmin will be fielding. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat function in the panel, and Yasmin will be monitoring these, and we'll go through these at the very end. So the presentation should last for approximately 20 to 30 minutes, give or take. Okay, so firstly, CPD is defined by the CQI as the systematic maintenance, improvement, skills, and personal qualities necessary to execute your professional and technical duties. So it is important that you have a process for doing your CPD. It is about maintaining, improving, and broadening your skills to help you be a better professional and overall be better at doing your job. So CPD is not just about the collecting of certificates of things, and we do not ask for a prescribed number of hours or points. And it certainly isn't just about ticking boxes. It can be about taking and doing training courses, but you don't need to just provide evidence of training courses. You do not need to think of just terms of training, because CPD should be something built into your working life that you do in order to progress in your own development. So I will go into the types of activities you can include in your CPD a bit later on in the presentation. When thinking about your CPD, you should think about how current your skills and knowledge are. So maybe you learned a particular tool or technique and you've applied that really well, but over time you've got an indication that there are new ways of doing things. So think in terms of how you can improve and what you're really good at, as well as anything new that you'd like to learn. You can also think about the soft skills, so not necessarily training, as I mentioned in the previous slide, but skills such as learning a new language, for example, which would allow you to better understand or communicate with your stakeholders. So we do not have set topics that you should be covering in your CPD. It is about you as an individual and where you personally want to go in your career. CPD is very person-centric and should be tailored to your own goals. We do recommend that you always review your progress because reviewing your progress can help identify other development areas that you'd like to touch up on or improve on, and it is important for helping you progress and develop as a quality professional. All CQI members are encouraged to do CPD, whatever your grade. However, CPD is a requirement for all of our chartered members and fellows of the CQI, as stated in our Royal Charter. So in order to ensure members are meeting these requirements, we do an annual random sampling for CPD, and we request this from just a certain number of chartered members to submit. So we look at this submission, we assess it, and assuming that people pass, they retain their CQP post-nominals. If you don't pass, then we do provide our feedback to help you amend your CPD and improve it so that you can maintain your credentials. If people don't respond to our sampling or fail to let us know, then we do need to downgrade them, to PCQI because we need to be able to see evidence that you're maintaining your CPD. So as most of you who are attending this webinar today have been selected to submit your CPD, I will expand on this random sampling a little bit further. But even for those of you who haven't been selected, this is still useful because you could be selected next year or the year after. And we do need to see that your CPD is quality related and ensure that there are enough objectives and that they are SMART. So what I mean by SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. When reviewing your CPD, we aren't going to be marking it with a lot of depth. It is about you and not about us. We really are looking for 12 to 24 months of PDCA activity. So I will go into more detail about our PDCA cycle in the next slide. But we just want to see that you've been doing your CPD consistently, and you should have 3 ongoing objectives that are SMART, as I mentioned. And we should be able to see the relevance this objective has to you as a quality professional. Essentially, it should be clear to us that you're taking your CPD seriously. If you are maintaining your CPD with another professional body, then yes, you can submit this instead of in our online CPD form, so long as it shows the general requirements we're looking for, as I've mentioned. And again, I will go into a bit more detail on this point in the next slide, what our requirements are. I will also just note that it does make it easier for you and for us if it is recorded online in the members area, because we can easily go into your record and check and assess it there. As a quality professional, you will experience changes in your day-to-day business, and you need to be able to keep up to date with these trends in order to stay at the forefront of your business and career. So therefore, we really think that maintaining and recording your CPD can help you progress. So as I mentioned previously, your CPD should be built on our PDCA cycle, so Plan, Do, Check, Act. For those of you who aren't familiar with our PDCA cycle, I've put the image here on the slide. In the planning stage, you should set your professional development objective and set out what you want to achieve and why. So this is where you should be measurable and specific. This is also where you would set your time parameters, so your start date and your target completion date. This is what gives you your time scale for completing your objectives. The do stage is where you put your activities into practice. So any activity that is relevant, you would record it here in the do stage. And having done these activities, you would then reflect on them, and this is the check stage of our cycle. So did they deliver what you expected them to deliver? Have you discovered that there's more to this objective than you thought? Maybe you have to amend it or extend it. This check section is the evaluation whether your activities have met your development objectives. So what's next? Are you going to close off this objective? Maybe you need to modify it. Whatever you do here, you would go back to your plan stage, either going to the original objective and flexing some components, or you would then add your new objective because you completed this one. Essentially, you keep going around this cycle with your objective until you've completed it, and then you go through it again when you start through a new one. So framing it in these terms, Plan, Do, Check, Act, is a nice way to describe how quality professionals understand quality improvement. And as I did mention previously, your objectives should be SMART. So think in terms of long, medium, and short term. Some objectives can be short, but equally it could be a long-term goal where you have quite a number of activities that you do over a length of time. It doesn't matter whether it is short or long term because it is about your development needs. You can talk about tools that support your work, but aren't necessarily work related either. So as I mentioned earlier about learning a new language, for example, do not be limited in how you view your objectives because we are really looking for how it affects you. So this PDCA image is available in the CPD section of your members area under the CPD guidance if you would like to refer to this at any point. And if in doubt, use our CQI competency framework. I provided the image of our competency framework here on the slide, although you should be familiar with it, especially if you are a chartered member. But it was launched in 2014 by the CQI, and it identifies the core competencies that all quality professionals must possess. So governance, assurance, improvement, leadership, and the context in which you're operating in. You need competency in each of these 5 areas. And if you're thinking about what your objectives could be and you're feeling stuck about where to start with recording your CPD, this is a really good place to refer to. So look at these 5 areas and identify where you could use some brushing up on. For example, if you're light on improvement, you might consider doing a Lean Six Sigma training course, for example. More information on our competency framework can be found at the link provided on this slide. So I'll just go over a few examples that you could think about when recording your CPD. So as I mentioned earlier, we are not prescriptive in what we require for a type of objective. Some types of examples you can use are training, qualifications or short courses, attending events, workshops and conferences, any e-learning like webinars or distance learning, reading or research, and use work experience, volunteering, or even mentoring. The key thing is that you're able to document what you did, reflect on it, and decide how far it's taken you to meet your objectives. Activities help you meet your objectives in your plan sections. They can be whatever you want them to be, just make them meaningful and relevant to you. So I will go into further details later on how our CQI resources and member benefits can help you with your CPD. But first, before I go into that further, I just want to show you our online CPD system and how you can record this online in the members area. So of course, first you need to actually log into the members area. So I've provided a screenshot of the sign-in page here on the slide. Once you're logged in, you want to go to the yellow members area tab, and you'll see a list of our different sections. But to get to your CPD, you want to go to the My Professional Development tab, and then the Continuing Professional Development, which is where your online CPD is. So I showed here on the slide that this is what our online CPD log looks like. There is some guidance that you can find there to help. Again, the PDCA cycle can be found here under the show hide guidance, so you can always use that. I've just put in some random CPD activities and objectives here just so that you can see what it looks like if you did have any already in there. You can amend and edit your existing ones if you do have any in there and you want to refer to them back at any point. They'll all be saved here. Or you can add new CPD on the Add New CPD button. When you do click the Add New CPD button, this is the screen that you will get. So this is our online CPD log. And as you can see, it directly reflects our PDCA cycle requirements. So you have your plan stages there and your do and the check and reflection and the act as in what's next. So if you are having those 3 minimum ongoing objectives as required for our CPD sampling, you do have to submit your objective, your start date, and your completion target date in there. That is a requirement. But once you're done with filling that out, you just press save and close, and that will save into that online CPD table that I just showed you previously. We do also give you the option to upload documents. However, we don't actually require you to upload any CPD evidence, but if you feel that you need to, then you can upload them there at the top right on the upload button. So lastly, I'm just going to finish this off by highlighting some guidance and tips and resources when thinking about and recording your CPD. So as I've shown you earlier, use our PDCA cycle. This should really help make the CPD process a little bit easier and useful for you going forward and help you plan out your objectives. Also refer to our competency framework. If you don't know where to start with your objectives, please use this and think where you can improve on these 5 areas. Build on these objectives based on this gap analysis. Remember, it isn't just about formal training courses. Think more broadly about the activities that will help you meet your CPD objectives and be creative. And lastly, use our CQI resources available to you as a member. So, such as our e-library, there are thousands and thousands of publications on there from across the world in multiple languages, from reports to research and journal articles, even newspapers and magazines. This is the best place to learn something new and keep your knowledge up to date with changing trends. In relation to this, we have other information resources, such as our Quality World magazine and access to published reports. Engage with colleagues, branches, or special interest groups as well. Talk about your objectives with colleagues, discuss ideas with them in your wider network. They might help you identify on how to achieve these objectives. And in relation to this, use our mentoring platform. It isn't just about supporting people new to quality, but it is also people who want to develop skills and learn new ones. You can ask someone to help you advise on a particular topic or gain knowledge on, and you can put this in the mentoring platform and search for someone on the platform who's offering these exact skills. And as I mentioned, use our CQI CPD log. If you don't have another way of recording your CPD, then this will help keep everything in one place. And it also follows our process and structure and requirements. So it does make it easy for you to record your CPD. And as I mentioned earlier, it does make it easier for us as well so that we can go in and check it and review it if we need to. And especially use us in Member Journey. So we are always here to help and support you as well. We are always available by phone or email. And should you have any questions about your CPD or you want any further advice, just please get in touch with us. I will note that you can access all of these resources that I've mentioned above in your members area by going to the My Membership tab and then the My Professional Development tab. And the last point I'll make is embrace CPD as a positive and not an imposition, because CPD is about improving yourself and keeping yourself up to date. It isn't something that you should view as an imposition, and rather something that keeps you at the forefront of your career and competitive as a professional. We do recommend that you set time aside every 3 months or so for planning and record your CPD as you go. Any activity that you do that goes toward meeting an objective, record it. Anything that is planned or not. You can dip in and out of the members area so it's there, and you don't need to try and think back about what you've done so you have it all up to date. If you do this, you'll find that the process for CPD is natural and not an imposition. And it really is all about your mindset. So if you're approaching it as something that is going to help you accelerate your progress, help you be more productive or hit targets, for example, it starts to become a tool under your belt that helps you become who you want to be, as cheesy as that is. So thank you for listening. A little bit short and sweet, but I hope that you found this webinar useful. So I will look to Yasmin to see if we have any questions that have come through.
Hi, Sam. We don't seem to have any questions at this moment, but we can open the floor to any questions we have now.
Yep, that's perfect. So if anyone does think of any questions, I'll leave this just for a minute and we'll see if anything comes through.
Okay, I think we've got a few questions. I'll just go through them now. If you just bear with me. So the first question we have is, can CPD help to get to fellowship?
So yeah, that's a good question. So of course, as I mentioned earlier, CPD is a requirement for our chartered grade. So you do have to provide your CPD as part of your online application for fellowship. But things such as the mentoring platform, for example, will help you gain fellowship because one of the criterion of our fellowship grade is supporting the careers of others. So that is something that people use as evidence as part of the criterion and how they meet that criterion. So CPD isn't necessarily something that will give you a pass to fellow, for example, because there's a lot of other requirements for the fellow grade, but recording those activities that you've done, so such as mentoring, will also give you examples on how you've supported the CQI or supported careers of others, as I mentioned, or genuinely just helping you develop your career further. So it definitely can, but I wouldn't say that CPD in itself will give you fellow. It is definitely a very important component. So hopefully that has helped answer your question, but if not, do feel free to ask another one. Do we
Great.
have any other questions?
Yeah, just go through them now. So the next question we have is, do you have a CPD template?
We don't have a template for CPD that's filled in, if that's what you mean, as like an example of a completed CPD log template. I would refer to our guidance sections on the CPD website because that does go into a bit more detail. Again, referring to the slides on this presentation, if you go back to the structure, that sort of can help you plan it and structure it and organize it. But we don't currently have an example set up at the moment that's completely completed. So I would just say go to the guidance section as it does expand in more detail up to what I've described in the webinar, and hopefully that will help. If it doesn't, email us and we can try and get something to you. So always feel free to contact us and we'll try and help you further if you're feeling stuck. But yeah, unfortunately at the moment we don't have a completed example.
Okay. So not a question, but a thanks from David to say thanks for your time and guidance. Much appreciated. So thanks for that, David. The next question we have here is, do I need to provide evidence that I have completed my CPD in terms of documents?
So I did mention earlier in the presentation that we do not require CPD evidence, so you don't need to worry about uploading anything. We don't need to see that, although some people just find it useful to record it there online in their members area so that it's all in one place. But no, we won't actually ask you for evidence of that. That's fine.
Okay, great. And is there a minimum number of CPQ required in a year for MCQI?
We do say that you should try and have a minimum of 3 ongoing CPD objectives. We don't have a set requirement of hours or points or how many objectives you should be completing, but as a requirement to uphold your CQP, MCQI post-nominals, you do need to maintain your CPD. So as you're doing objectives, as you're doing activities, do record them. But again, we don't actually prescribe a set number specifically, but we do say as a guideline, you should have a minimum of 3 ongoing ones.
What is the timeline for the CPD?
So I'm not sure what you mean by timeline specifically. Of course, your objectives can be ongoing, so that's not like you have to complete by a certain number of years, for example. You might have some that you're going to close off in a year or maybe a few months. So it really depends. They can be short term, long term. If you're referring to timeline in terms of our CPD sampling, then we sample, and when we sample them, we require people to submit or update it online in the members area within 2 months. So they have 2 months to upload that. So for this year, the deadline is the 2nd of August for our CPD sampling. So you should have it in by then. If you need an extension, then just contact us and let us know. But hopefully that covers sort of both the timeline aspects of what you might have been referring to, but feel free to elaborate if I haven't quite answered your question.
Thank you, Sam. And we've just got a few more questions. Is there a limit to the amount of objectives that can be added?
So there's no limit on our CPD online in the members area. You can just keep adding as you go. It will just add pages to the online CPD. So instead of it having it, they might only have a set of ones that show on the first page on that table. But as you add them and they don't fit on that first page, they'll just keep adding new pages. So there's no limit. You can put in as many as you want or need and just keep that ongoing. And I think some people will find that they'll have multiple pages. So yeah, definitely there's no limit there.
Right. And what is the time frame for getting your CPD updated? So I haven't done mine for quite some time. So when does this need to be completed for your assessment?
Yep, so as I mentioned, you should, if you are selected for the sample, we are requesting that you submit it or update it online by the 2nd of August. Again, if you do need an extension for whatever reason, or you're struggling, then just email us or call us and we can work that out with you specifically. But the 2nd of August is the deadline for submitting those.
Okay. We've got another thanks from Amanda. Thank you for the presentation, Samantha, and thank you to Yasmin. We really appreciate that. Got another question. To be clear, CQI does not have a standard template for members to use for consistency purposes. The advice is just to refer to guidance on how to create your CPD document.
Well, the CPD online form that I showed you early in the presentation, I guess would be our template. When you fill that in, that is the structure of our CPD. We used to have CPD in a template, sort of hard copy form that you would complete. But now that we've gone online and we've moved a lot of our members area benefits online, benefits in the members area, we've also added the CPD aspect online. So instead of that hard form that you would go back to and complete, you just can go in the members area and do that actually in the members area. So that is the template that is online in the members area. It's just not an external downloaded template. It just sits within the online system. So hopefully that helps clarify.
Thank you, Sam. And just getting a few more questions. So how many people are selected and how?
So we do just select a random sample of our members. We don't have a set number. We just randomly choose a big chunk of them so that we're kind of doing that assurance check. How we sample them, it's just taken from our database, obviously. So we have a database of everyone who's a chartered member. Anyone who is that grade will select from. The system will randomly do this itself. So we don't actually choose people at random. The system just randomly generates it. It will then send you an email saying that you've been selected to submit your CPD, and you just go online and fill this out. We then have a dashboard on our end that we can see everyone who's been selected. We can see if they've put it online or not. And as I mentioned, you can submit CPDs from other professional bodies. So this is where we would just have to upload your external CPD records to that as well. So hopefully that answers your question. But it does vary every year depending on how many chartered members we have in that year.
Right. It's great to see people ask questions, very engaging. I've got a few more coming up. Um,
Okay, great.
if I am looking to upgrade from PCQI to MCQI, is three objectives for my CPD the minimum requirement?
Yeah, so the assessor will be looking for three minimum ongoing CPD objectives. So that is a requirement as part of regrading from PCQI to MCQI. Obviously, because MCQI is a chartered grade, the assessor will want to see that you've got some objectives. They don't need to be ones that you have completed because, again, you're just regrading from PCQI to MCQI. These should be ongoing ones so you can start that plan stage that I've showed you earlier for your objectives, and that's what they'll be looking for.
Right. We've got a thank you for the presentation from Robert. Thank you for that,
You're
Robert.
welcome.
Can I just upload my annual training and development plan that I have agreed with my employer for 2021?
Yep, so as I mentioned, you can submit your any other form of CPD you have, whether that be from your employer or another professional body that you might be part of. We do ask that you email this to us so that we can manually upload it to the specific section that we need to see to make sure that we can review it and make sure it meets our requirements, and then approve you for the sampling. You can always upload that, as I said, in the CPD section, but for the purpose of sampling, if you are selected, do just email that over to us. So the email address will be in the next slide so that you can refer to it if you don't know our email address. But yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Right, and we have one last question. Uh, are you recording this session?
Yep, so this webinar is currently being recorded and it will be uploaded to the members area in the webinars and video section of our professional development tab there that I showed you earlier. So it will be saved there. It can take a week or so for it to upload, but it definitely will be uploaded there for your reference later.
Right. There's just one more question that's actually come through. Sorry, just bear with me. Can superseded records be deleted when completed and no longer relevant?
If you mean that if anything you upload to your CPD, if that can be deleted after, I believe it can. I'm not actually 100% sure if our members area in that CPD online has the function for you to delete it or not. I believe it does. If you have any concerns though, if there's something you want to delete, just let us know and we can look into that in further detail for you, because I'm not 100% sure if it allows you to delete any objectives that you've already put into it. Um, but yeah, we'll have to check into that a bit further. So do email us if you go in and you find that you want to delete something and you need our help, then we can go into that with you personally.
Okay, so I think that's just about it. But if anybody has any more questions, you're more than welcome to ask away. Should we leave? Should we give a bit more time, or is everybody happy with that?
We can give it another minute if people think of anything. Hopefully I've covered everything with the questions, but yeah, if we get general consensus that we're happy, then that would be fine. I will say, if you do think of any questions after the webinar, of course, I put the email on our slide here and our phone number. So please email us or call us if you think of anything else after. We'll be happy to answer your questions. So don't worry if you don't get your questions answered here. We'll do it after.
I think I've got one question here, which is when I join the webinar, I want the attendance record uploaded automatically on CPD by CQ and ERCA. Would this be possible someday?
Most of our webinars, I don't think with this one, but most of our other webinars that our branches do or our SIGs do, you get a certificate of attendance. With these ones, we don't have them because they're more information webinars rather than, well, these are more sort of help webinars to help you with certain related topics of your membership or, certain things regarding that. So we don't have that at the moment for these, but it's definitely something that I think we'll be looking into, especially if we do more of them. I think that would be useful, but do feel free to put in your CPD that you've attended a webinar and it's helped you and it's gained your knowledge. That's totally an example of CPD. So you can definitely do that manually that you've attended it in your CPD online if that's useful.
Right. So just getting a few thanks for the webinar. So yeah, thank you guys. I'll hand it over to Sam, but
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for your thanks. And thank you for attending and taking this time to learn more about your CPD. Again, I hope you found it useful and that you found some guidance on how best to record and keep track of your CPD. I just reiterate one more time, if you do have questions after, please let us know. Me or Yasmin are happy to help, or anyone else in our team for that matter. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day and weekend.
thank you all. Have a great weekend.